Man, it's no fun when you're out in the middle of your yard mowing grass and a idler pulley bearing fails. And it always happens on the weekend too, when none of the parts houses are open to get one. Not to mention the price of them, 20 bucks here and there, and sometimes even upwards of 30 and 40 for these tall pulleys. When you mow as much grass as I do every season, it gets old buying these, so I learned a trick a while back from being cheap. Figured out how to replace just the bearing and the pulley instead of replacing the whole thing. It takes a little bit of work, but after the first time you rebuild it, it's way easier to do the second go around. And instead of a $20 and $30 pulley, now all you gotta do is use $10 for a whole pack of bearings. So it works out pretty good. And then you got more bearings on the shelf next time for when it fails. All you gotta do is drill out, most of them are riveted together. So you drill out each one of these rivets and you put a 1/4 inch bolt in it. This particular pulley is all rivets. Some have rivets and spot welds. Now I've got a pulley right here that's all spot welds. It's really hard to see them on camera, but there's one, there's two, there's three. You can take and drill those out and that pulley will split right apart. All it takes is one bearing. Back here on my pump drives, I just did this bearing recently. Pretty easy to do. Put all 1/4 inch bolts. Now after you do this the first time, next time all you gotta do is take it apart. It's easy to service then. That's another $30 pulley right there. Now I can fix it with $1 bearings. Like I said, that one was spot welds, but here's one off of an old Craftsman lawnmower that I did a long time ago. Most of them have sleeved adapters that go in the bearing. So all you do is drive that out of the center of the bearing. These three are single bearing pulleys. They have one bearing on the inside. Here's another small one I did. But those are single bearing. These big tall ones like I had on my deck over there have 2 bearings in them with a shaft that goes between them. These are a little more finicky. These pulleys are usually more expensive. I actually did this bearing not long ago. But if you don't, when you go to put these halves back together, if you don't get that bearing situated between them just right, you'll end up getting one bearing hot like I did here. So we're gonna put it back together, put a little more time and care into making sure it's good and free. You know, you want that shaft to turn free. If you're doing a double bearing pulley, you just got to make extra sure that it's free to turn. Now pretty much every pulley like this can be done to where you can make it serviceable. Usually V-groove pulleys, these are all the back side of the belt flat pulleys. Usually the V-groove pulleys are too small to take apart, so they ain't really worth doing it to. But these are. It's not very often you run into a V-groove pulley. And then we've got a V-belt pulley here that you can do the same thing with. Might better get a bearing order for that. Now the only time you don't want to do this is you see where the belt rides. Of course it's just worn the paint off of this pulley, but if you have used this pulley so long that it creates grooves in this pulley, you don't want to use it anymore. You'll have, of course, the groove where it separates, but you don't want grooves on the edges of where the belt rides. You'll end up chewing up belts more often over time. You'd be better off replacing it then. But if it's a single bearing pulley, this is really easy to do. Sometimes you'll get lucky and it still has the number on it somewhere on the seal face or on the race like this one is. But if you aren't that lucky, all you got to do is measure your bore size, and then once you get the bearings out, you measure the outside, preferably with some calipers or something. I don't drive them real tight up against each other. Seems to create more friction. Thinking that's what happened the last go around with these bearings. Now in replacing these bearings, a feller wants to go and buy some high dollar Timken bearings or something expensive, you know, but at the end of the day, you got to remember these bearings are going to be in one of the harshest environments. You know, they're all the time they're going to be used in the dirt and dust, so these are kind of just a wear item instead of something that goes bad. So the easier and cheaper you can make this, the better off you are. You can get fancy double shielded and sealed bearings. You can get basic just sealed ones, but I've had some expensive bearings and cheap ones. They don't hold up. Neither one of them hold up that great because the dirt just sits on top of here and it does make it past that seal. There's really nothing you can do about it. Now I've seen on some mowers where they have a shield cover that goes over that bearing to help keep dirt out. I'd like to try to make some of them at some point. Just try to keep, when you take them apart, try to keep up with what orientation it is. That way all your holes line up. But you can just split them apart with a chisel. Nothing too bad. That's going to be a pretty snug fit getting that in there. Now notice with these double ones, they got some wiggle room to them. They ain't fully snug. Alright, now we just go around it, putting all our bolts in there. Now this is a project for a thin wall chrome socket on your little impact. Stay in here for a while and do that. And there you have it. Good cheap way to put bearings in something. I'm not really sure yet if I'd recommend these double bearing pulleys redoing them. That last time it didn't last very long, but I got it moving a whole lot freer this time. Spent a little more effort trying to free it up. So all it is them two bearings there are a little bit misaligned. Fella would probably be a little bit better off cleaning the inside of this pulley out with a flap disc and open it up just a little bit. Now this $30 pulley turned into $1.50 rebuild. Of course the bolts cost $1, but worth it. Now once you've done this a couple of times, you can get pretty fast at taking these apart and putting them back together. And if you haven't seen it already, check out the video where I go over how I built this lawnmower from scratch. It's a fun project. And thanks for watching.